What's going on, everybody? What's going on? Ty Butler show here on a Tuesday after the official conclusion of Week 2 in the NFL. You had the Buccaneers win last night. Chargers looking pretty scary. They win that game. So we're talking about it all. Hit me up, Ty D Butler. That's where you can find me on Instagram, on X, where I'm streaming live right now. Follow the YouTube channel. We are live on YouTube, the Ty Butler Show, and we are reacting to all things football, more specifically today, a Jet conversation that is amazing we're having already. Our Jet fans losing faith in Aaron Glenn, the head coach of this football team. So we'll get into it. I want to allow some people to hop into the chat, hop on the stream before we do a deep dive into this discussion today about the Jets. But let's have it, man. It's the conclusion of week 2. The Jets still winless on the season. And I felt just more devastated after this past Sunday than I did last week. And last week was a heartbreak. It's a gut punch. You're up 9 in the fourth quarter. A costly mistake ends up doing you in that game. We saw Xavier Gibson lose his job. But last week, to me, was more alarming because of everything that had happened. I mean, you didn't have a single phase of the game where you felt good about. So I want to allow some people to hop into the chat, hop on the stream. Before we get cooking in this conversation, if you're a Giant fan, you want to let loose about that loss as well, you are more than welcome to do that. So let's get it going. See, we are working on a show logo behind me. Shout out to my wife, man, because she gets so invested into like the creative aspect of just everything. She's a teacher. So when it comes to putting things together on the creative side, she's like, yo, I want to do it. And this is the first installment of the logo. We'll have another edition we're dropping soon. But shout out to my lady who's always looking out for your boy. Tell a friend, tell your homies, tell your homegirls. We're in the chat. We're live. We're streaming on YouTube and on X. I got a lot to say about my New York Jets. If you tuned into the show yesterday, I was livid. I've calmed down a bit, as you would expect. You go through like your emotional stages. Started off angry. I was on the New York Post Sports Show. Check out the clip that they put out yesterday. I was hot, man. And that energy continued yesterday. So we've calmed down just a bit. But I've still got a lot of energy coming off of that loss. Again, just because they just got so outclassed in a division game where, look, again, there weren't high expectations. But if someone walked up to me right now and said the Jets are the worst team in the NFL, is there a legitimate argument against it? I don't think so. When your quarterback has a 1.1 QBR, when your special teams folds the way that it did 2 weeks ago, when your defense in back-to-back weeks has allowed 30 points, your coach looks overwhelmed, outmatched. It's not crazy to say this is the worst team in the NFL. And the fact that we're here already is so embarrassing. I can't stand it, man. I am so sick and tired of it. And then there are a couple of things that happened yesterday that just drove me crazy. And it added some fuel to this fire. And I'm just observing, because that's what I do. The way I prepare for shows is I pay attention to conversations that's happening elsewhere. I want to see what the fans are saying. I want to see what people in talk media are saying. Because I want to know What are the different perspectives? And because of how my brain works, I like to search for things that I disagree with. But I came across some stuff yesterday that I was just like, come on, y'all. Come on, guys. We got to get on the same page. So tell people your boy Ty Butler's on live. We are talking to the Jet fans. And right now, the first thing I want to do is react to what Aaron Glenn said to the media yesterday. When asked questions, shockingly, didn't answer by saying he needed to see the tape first. Well, that's a start. That's a start. He didn't need to see the tape first. Aaron Glenn said something yesterday that annoyed me because in some ways it reminds me of how the Yankee conversation is constructed, to where there is some gaslighting, or in order to emphasize your point, you argue something so far in the other direction, it makes the people you're arguing with sound nuts. Now, that's a lot to take in. I'll explain exactly what I'm talking about. Let's allow some more people to hop in the chat, hop on the stream. Let them know Ty Butler on live. If you want to hit a retweet, repost, let's do it, baby. I'm here, man. Let's get after it. Let's get after it. Where the Jet fans at? Holla at me. Jet fans, how y'all feeling after 2 weeks of the season? Still got a long ways to go. 16 more of them things. How y'all feeling after 2 weeks of the season? I love football so much. I get excited. We get here, and then it's like, bam, punched in the mouth. And I don't want it to end. I'm still invested. I'm still here. I'm still going to watch every single snap of every single game. But I'm certainly going to talk about it. And there's something we need to talk about today. So hit us up. We are live on YouTube. We're live on X. Tell your peoples we're talking. All right, let's get it started. So Aaron Glenn, talking to the media yesterday, says this, and I quote, "I know this is an instant coffee league. I know from media to fans, everybody expects when you start, okay, we're going to the Super Bowl. But we've all played Legos before. And we all know that, man, you have to make sure that everything is aligned. And you keep stacking it day by day by day." So Aaron Glenn, in some ways, is explaining to the fans how the expectations might be a little bit too high. Are the expectations from Jet fans too high, which has caused us to have an overreaction to what has transpired the first couple weeks of the season? So that's my question to the audience today. Do we have too high expectations? Do we have too high expectations? Allow me to respond to that. So I won't take him to be literal when he says, when you just start, okay, we're going to the Super Bowl. Because there is not a single Jet fan on the planet who, in their minds coming into the season, thought that this team was going to the Super Bowl. Now let's lower that bar. How many Jet fans out there thought they were watching a playoff team? Not too many. Now, of course, in every fan base, you'll get the crazed section that will talk themselves into, gee, I don't know. Every year there's a worst to first story. Every year there's a surprise team that comes about. Maybe, just maybe, that could be us. I'm not talking about that crazed section of a fan base that exists everywhere. I'm sure that in baseball there were some Tampa Bay Rays fans twisting and turning themselves into, oh, well, actually, We could make a run this year. That happens in every sport amongst every fan base. I'm talking about if we measure the temperature of the median of the fan base. Were the expectations high coming into the season? I don't think so. Were the expectations that of what we had a couple years ago when you just got Aaron Rodgers and folks were talking about they're a Super Bowl contender because of that defense and that run game? Absolutely not. But you know what the expectation was? That you weren't going to, in week 2 of the season, embarrass yourself. In week 2 of the season, have people like me, couple minutes into the game, wondering, wait, same old Jets? Because of the onslaught of penalties. Speaking of which, Michael Clemens. We saw in week 1 of the preseason, dumb penalty. We saw last week on a 3rd and long, first drive of the game for the Bills. They're in Jets territory, field goal range. He picks up a dumb penalty. Michael Clemens, who all we know him for is picking up just egregious penalties. When we talk about accountability, where's the accountability on his part? Why is he not saddled on the bench? Why is he not being cut? Well, it's because the Jets don't have the necessary depth on that defensive line to where he becomes expendable. So it's hard to send that type of a message without exactly stymieing your entire team. You can do it with Xavier Gibson because he's not a big name player. He's not someone who you're expecting to be a significant part of this team going forward. And that's an area where you can kind of mix and match and see, all right, who gives us the best chance when it comes to kickoff returns. Michael Clemens, when you look at the numbers, has been awful. The Athletic, tremendous job Zach Rosenblatt does in his column today where he talks about the Michael Clemens conundrum. You start going through some of the numbers. The Jets from 2022 to 2025 have a better sack rate, pressure rate, and are better on 3rd down with Clemens off the field. All of that stuff climbs when he's on the football field. They're a better run defense when he's on the sidelines. The problem is they don't have depth at that position. And now that Jermaine Johnson's dealing with an ankle injury, and he tweeted out, who knows? He tweeted out the other day something along the line, something that would have you to believe that he's fine. But, you know, athletes do this. So I remember LeBron got hurt on Christmas a couple years ago and tweeted out, you know, thank God. Could have been much worse. Was expecting a lot worse. And then that dude missed 2 months of the season with a significant groin injury, came back and did not look the same. So Jermaine Johnson on Twitter, let me pull up his tweet. Jermaine Johnson tweeted something out that made it look like, all right, he's going to be fine. So he quote tweeted on September 14th. He tweeted, the hands prayers emoji. Then he quote tweeted yesterday, thank God, y'all have no idea, LOL. Once again, the praying emoji. So it makes it sound like he's going to be fine. The problem is we've seen this happen a lot, and you just don't know the severity of it based on what people are putting out on social media. We just don't know. So there's a chance he misses this game in Tampa this coming Sunday, which means there is more of an emphasis on Michael Clemens playing snaps. And if that's the case, I just gave you the numbers. The Jets, in pretty much every metric, sack rate, run defense, they are much better when Michael Clemens is off the field. But because they are deprived on that side of the ball, and it's just amazing to me, because every time you think about this defensive line, you imagine how good it was just 2 years ago. And then Joe Douglas, he lost his mind and traded away John Franklin Myers. Now, there was a significant injury, right? Al Woods tore his Achilles in that disastrous Giants game. MetLife Stadium, giveth and it taketh away. Like, think about how good this defensive line was just 2 years ago. And now look at the garbage that we've been subjected to. So all of that comes back to this idea of, if we're holding players accountable, if we have a zero tolerance policy, and we're preaching that to the masses and hoping that in this locker room, a message is sent, then what's happening with Michael Clemens? Why is he still playing? I get so sick and tired of watching him. And I mentioned this on the stream yesterday. One of my boys, Scott Messina, shout out Scott. I immediately text him after that penalty from Clemens, because we're both Jet and Yankees fans. So this is something that we can both relate to. I said, life on the line. Who would you rather watch? Devin Williams or Michael Clemens? Because seriously, and I guess the answer has to be Devin Williams, but I'm so sick and tired of watching Michael Clemens, who they rave about his aggression. And you can see it. The talent is there, obviously. It is just the mind-boggling decisions he makes that really cost his teams drives and ends up costing them games. I still remember Josh Allen, what was it, the week 6 game last year? Week 6 game last year. They were on Monday Night Football playing for first place. It was after Saleh had just unceremoniously been fired. The Bills win that game. Great game. Greg Zuerlein, masterpiece. The Bills won that game after Michael Clemens just broke contain. And Josh Allen runs right by him. First down, game's over. I've got too many bad memories of Michael Clemens, that I just can't watch this dude anymore. So when it comes to showing accountability, and you're the head coach of this football team, the pressure is on you, my guy, Aaron Glenn. And let's not sit here and act like, because this is what drove me crazy when I'm listening to sports talk yesterday and today. It's like, Jet fans, expectations too high. Let's calm it down a bit. Expectations weren't high coming into this season. People were like, if you can win 6 or 7 games, I'll take that. If we can see some improvement and growth from the quarterback, I'll take that. If we can go from being a lousy defense to respectable, I'll take it. No one was talking playoffs or Super Bowl. So let's not sit here and act like all of a sudden it's the fault of the Jet fans, because they thought this team could go on a run. That's not what this is. That is revisionist history. All Jet fans want to do is not see you in week 2 get embarrassed by the Buffalo Bills, who didn't even play their A game. I mean, Mitch Trubisky comes into the game and he's already throwing a bomb on your secondary. All they want to see you do is not get thoroughly out-coached the way that Aaron Glenn did this past week. Him and Steve Wilkes, Joe Brady running circles around them. All they want to do is not see the quarterback you hand-selected $40 million over 2 years not have, the worst game of his career. and likely the worst game you'll see the rest of this NFL season. So let's not sit here and pretend, we're jumping on him too early and, the expectations were too. Stop all that nonsense. Cut it out. Because that right there, to quote my man T.I., you started with some bull. Ain't nobody trying to hear that. Let's get serious about the conversations we're having about the Jets. They are, let's check the look-ahead line for week 3. You go into Tampa Bay, a team coming off of a game-winning drive-led victory yesterday. Baker Mayfield's been cooking. So you go into Tampa for the Bucs home opener. You're 7.5-point underdogs in Tampa Bay. And they didn't look great in that game yesterday. It wasn't a great game overall between the Bucs and the Texans. But when it was time to win it, Baker Mayfield, with his legs and with his arms, won that football game. And now a quarterback who is now graduated into the conversation of top 10, and I think that is unquestionable, licking his chops at a defense that through the first couple of weeks of the season is giving up 30-plus points a game. You feel confident ahead of this showdown with the Buccaneers? Of course not. Of course not. So what that tells me is you're staring at starting the season 0-3. You're staring at starting the season 0-3. Then you're on the road in Miami, which then becomes a must-win game. Because the Dolphins, that could be, if we exclude the Saints and the Browns, the Dolphins, is that the worst team? So those are the 3 worst teams in the NFL. If just off the top of my head, 3 worst teams in the NFL. And I won't put the Giants there because the Giants actually looked pretty good against the Cowboys. Just bad teams find ways to lose games. You're headed to Miami. And this is 2 weeks from now, Monday night, to face a team that we could argue is one of the 3 worst in football. That's a must-win game, y'all. You drop to 0-4, you start to lose people quickly. So, look, am I at the point to where I'm saying this regime is cooked? Absolutely not. It's so early in the season. You do have to exude a certain level of patience to where we're not reacting to 8 quarters and when they first get on the job. That would be unfair. But am I sounding some alarms? Absolutely, because what I said before the year, when people were telling me there were no expectations for the Jets, no expectations at all, I said, cut it out. We get to the end of the season, and this is a 3 or 4 win team. There is no way. There is no way. That's not a red flag. You're a 3 or 4 win team at the end of the season. When we kept hearing about a culture change, that's a problem. And shout out to my man Dave Rothenberg this morning on his radio show with Rick DiPietro. Big up the whole gang, RJ, Ray Santiago. I was listening to Dave, and he said something that I just vehemently disagreed with. When he was like, if Justin Fields doesn't play well or show promise, essentially he was like, it's not a big deal. Yes, it is. This is the quarterback that this regime hand selected. 2 years, $40 million. Compared to the upper echelon quarterbacks, obviously doesn't compare. But they selected this guy as someone they felt they could win with this season. And if in year one, he stinks, your team stinks, your defense is getting annihilated, those are all red flags. And you end up with something like 3 or 4 wins, it's not going to be, oh, we're overreacting. Nah, that's a big deal. This is the quarterback you selected. And we don't have to revisit the whole, did it make sense to let Aaron walk out the door? I still feel like you should have kept him just to try to establish some equity. We're trying to, in year one, come out the gate and win football games. Who gives me a better chance to win football games? I would argue it's Aaron Rodgers and not Justin Fields. But yeah, there is. Because here's the thing. If Justin Fields is awesome this year, wouldn't you say that's a check mark on the side of Glenn and Mougie? Yeah, right? We'd give them a ton of credit for that. So what we then can't do is, throw our arms up. What'd you expect? If he stinks, that doesn't fall on them. Feels like an unfair assessment of the situation. We can't do that. And I understand it's a reclamation project and you're hoping to turn him into something while having your eyes on next year's draft. Doing 2 things simultaneously. I get all that. But if he flatlines to the point where we're going to Tyrod Taylor, now injury aside, right? Because Tyrod might be starting against Tampa Bay. But if we get to a point later in the season where Justin Fields gets benched because of performance, you're going to tell me that that's not a big deal? That absolutely is. He's the starting quarterback of this team. He's the starting quarterback who you selected. It's not like you came here, he was here already, and, that the regime didn't select him. You chose this guy. So it is a massive deal if he flops. A massive deal that, again, they can get out of, because if they're bad enough to their, to where they're picking top high in the draft, they can grab someone. But we are forced to react to these things as it happens in real time. And so far, what I'm seeing from this group, nothing to be inspired by. Which is why last week, when everyone was singing the praises of Fields and the offense and Tanner Engstrand, I was like, all right, I've seen Justin Fields do that before. Can he do it consistently? And that was my biggest question mark about him. If he can do it consistently, then we've got to have a conversation. But when he follows that up by having literally the worst game of his career, what do we expect? Because I'm a big fan of us being fair in our both criticism and our praise. I say this all the time when it comes to Brian Cashman, Aaron Boone, and the New York Yankees. It's like the people who defend them want there to be a standard that is, we give them credit when they perform well, but can't say anything when they flop. Doesn't seem fair to me. And for all of us who are talk show hosts, we're doing podcasts, we're on the radio, television, whatever the case may be, we are reacting to things in real time. So at certain points, it's challenging, right? Because it's like a quarterback. You want to see what's taking place in front of you while keeping your eyes on what's going on downfield. So that's what we have to do. That's what we're tasked with doing. Reacting to things in real time as it's happening, while also having a keen sense of, okay, through the lens of big picture, what's our takeaway? And that's what I'm doing today. So I do hear and see that there are some Jet fans losing faith in Aaron Glenn already. And to some degree, it's valid. When the defense is as porous. When your quarterback was dreadful last week. When the penalties continue to be a problem. When you're 0 of 11 on third down. Some of that stuff is valid, y'all. But am I going full blown? These guys need to be fired at the end of the season. I'm not there, and I shouldn't say I don't think that there's anything that they can do to the point where I'd get there because it's happened. I mean, Gerard Mayo last year, what a train wreck that was. I just don't want to put myself in a place of misery to that extent, to where I can envision that this regime is so bad at the end of year one, we're trying to clean house. I don't want to put myself in that seat. That does not sound fun at all. And as depressing as it has been to be a Jet fan, dog, I don't want to sit and I don't want to be here in this seat at any point during the season calling for the jobs of Aaron Glenn and Darren Muji. Man, that means things have truly gone off the rails. And it's possible. I would say it's unlikely. So Tampa Bay, Miami, Dallas, Denver, that's your next 4 games. You're already 0-2. Tampa Bay, I think, is a loss. Miami, that has to be a win. If you lose the Miami game, then all of a sudden I'm looking at the schedule, where the win's coming from. Now, here's where you get some favorability going forward. So let's say you cop the W in Miami, and now you're 1-3. A home for Dallas. The Cowboys are still a team that I think will make the playoffs. So this is where it gets tough. Dallas is a winnable game. You go into London to face Denver, that's a winnable game. But let's just say you split those. So now you're what? 2-4 through the first 6 games. You're 2-4. Here's where things start to work out a little bit. Carolina, not a good team. Cincinnati's got Jake Browning starting. Bye week, and then you are home for Cleveland. So that's 3 straight games where it's like, all right, I feel good going into it. But conversely, if we're doing talk radio in Carolina, in Cincinnati, and in Cleveland, they're saying the same thing about the Jets. So I think sometimes we perform this exercise wrong. Where it's like, all right, that's a win. That's a win. That's a... Those same teams that we are just matter-of-factly giving you wins against are doing the same thing to the New York Jets. It's not like the Jets are the Packers. We don't sit here and confuse the Jets for the Baltimore Ravens. It's the Jets. So it's cool and all. Oh, that's a win, that's a win. Those same teams are saying the same exact thing about the New York Jets. After that Thursday night game at New England. Oh boy. Sunday afternoon at Baltimore. Home for Atlanta. Home for Miami. At Jacksonville. At New Orleans. Home for New England. In Buffalo. At Jacksonville. At New Orleans. Those are games you can win. So I truly see like 6 winnable games the rest of the way. And maybe that's how they get to that benchmark where I set before the season and I said, all right, that's where I'm not alarmed. You get 6 or 7 wins, I can be cool with that. It's just going to be really difficult to do that if the team that showed up this past Sunday does so again the rest of the season. It's going to be awfully difficult to pull that off. Hit me up in the chat, y'all. Ty Butler on X. Hit that YouTube page up. Talking Jets football right now. Man. That was a debilitating loss. Because all of the equity that you had built up coming off of week 1, where people were legitimately excited. I wasn't one of those guys. I don't believe in moral victories, and I'm just all about, let's win the football game. People were excited because of the fact that you had hung with Pittsburgh, and not just hung with them. The points were coming in bunches. And Justin Fields, it was like, wow. He gets it, because that was a lot of what people had said. The reason why this thing could work out is because Justin Fields now has a team that believes in him. Where it's not like week to week he's fighting for his job. Whereas in Pittsburgh, we know there was an expiration date on him being the starter. Chicago was a disastrous situation with Nagy and the whole thing. Like, it was just never it was never set up for him to work out there because it's Chicago. So now Justin finally gets a regime, starting fresh, culture builder, and then bam, right out the gate, week 1. That is why that loss is so significant. You win that game. Not that we excuse the week 2 performance, but we can say, all right, young team, new coaching staff. Funny to say, to quote Rodgers last year, doesn't know how to deal with prosperity yet. But now you're 1-1. Now you're feeling good about yourself. Certainly better than you do at 0-2. So if you're a Jet fan, hit me up in the chat. Let me know. Have you lost all faith in Aaron Glenn? Let me know. Yo, I always forget that the seasonal allergies just start doing you dirty. Man, they start doing you dirty. I sound a little bit nasally sick. Body is just achy. Haven't felt 100% in the last couple of days. Seasonal allergies just doing you dirty. Are Jet fans losing faith in Aaron Glenn already? Has it happened? Has it happened? Because some people felt like I was being too hard on him. If you had listened to me, you saw I was very critical of how he conducted his press conferences as it pertained to the answering of questions, how condescending at times he was, dismissive, even what he did this past Sunday, where he's doing the whole, I got to watch the tape, I got to watch the tape, I got to watch the tape. And I think that what he's trying to do is not allow outside noise to affect what's going on in that locker room. And he probably is also using it himself as a defense mechanism, where he doesn't want to get into a tit for tat. He doesn't feel like he has to explain himself. Because I'm sure, you can say all you want, he's feeling the pressure, even in year one. 32 of these jobs out there. He's seen folks come and go. He understands that, doesn't feel like that long ago, he was doing the whole acceptance speech and welcome, dream job. As quickly as that has come, as quickly as that can go. So all the pressure, the noise, the media market, the fans breathing down your neck, it can get to you. So maybe this is his way of trying to suppress that. This is the way that he deals with it. Everyone's got their own unique method of dealing with, an intense pressure. But I just wasn't feeling it, y'all. And there were some folks who came at me like, yo, chill out. This is what's wrong with New York media. And they loved it. They were ready to run through a wall. I wasn't hearing it. And some dude, being ridiculous, hit me with the, see, man, you a black man. Why you sowing seeds of doubt? You should be rooting for the black man to be successful. Hey, man, listen. Anyone who knows anything about me knows that, first of all, I'm obviously, as a Jet fan, rooting for him to be successful. But there aren't too many things that make me happier than black excellence. And I'm unapologetic about that. So the idea that you're going to take me going at Aaron Glenn and make it into some racial thing is wild, knowing who I am. I use my platform to highlight the issues going on in society. Y'all know how much this matters to me? The whole black quarterback conversation. Y'all know how much that affected me? And why I was so pissed off with people trying to tear down Lamar Jackson? So you can come at me any way you want to, but at least be accurate in your information. With your information. At least be accurate in your presentation of the information. I'm going at Aaron Glenn not because I want to see him fail. I'm a Jet fan. And on top of being a Jet fan, I'm a black man. I want to see the black coach excel. As a fan of the team that's got the black coach. Come on, y'all. So this dude coming at me. And I just remembered it. This was maybe about a month or so ago. I just want to see some W's. And I don't want to see you being condescending to media members. Keep that same energy for the cats on the field who are 0 for 11 on third down. Who couldn't score a touchdown until late in the fourth quarter. Who are once again showing a culture of undiscipline that leads to the committing of penalties, particularly in big spots. That's all I'm saying. Ty Butler, that's where I am on X. I'm on YouTube. Hit the YouTube channel up. Check me out on X, on Instagram, and on TikTok as well. Had a good time talking to y'all. Yo, it's going to get to a point, too, because we've got the convergence of all these sports happening. Basketball's coming up soon. Baseball, big next. 12 days for both the Yankees and the Mets. So I won't just be talking football here. We'll do the Jets and the Giants, but we're also going to get into some baseball content, because I'll tell you this, man. Like, as bad as it was 2 years ago talking about the Jets and that epic collapse, the Mets missed the playoffs. This would be far worse. This, to me, would be worse than 2007 for the Mets. So I've got a bunch, about that team. Bunch to say about that team. These next 12 days, anxiety riddled, because y'all are staring at maybe the most epic collapse in New York sports history. That's on the Mets side of things. The Yankees caught an L last night in Minnesota. Some of it, to me, takes a little bit of a hit, like the strong reaction, because they played so well during that 12-game stretch against the Astros, Tigers, Jays, and Red Sox. They go 7-5. I mean, against the best teams, but obviously you want to be better, right? You'd like to win that series against Detroit. You'd like to finish off the sweep against Boston. But going up against the best teams in baseball, you go 7-5. That's something you'll take every time, especially when this final 10-game stretch are against the Tomato Cans, a Tomato Can who beat them last night. But you understand my point. I've punted on the Yankees winning this division. It's not going to happen, especially with the Blue Jays winning again last night. My focus now is on, in that wild card series, is it at Yankee Stadium or is it at Fenway Park? Because if it's at Fenway, I don't feel great. Yankee Stadium, the Red Sox still can come in and beat them, but ideally would like to have series played at home come October. So we'll talk baseball, basketball. I was talking to one of my boys in the gym today, and he asked me, Mike Brown, you sold on him? Am I sold on him? I don't know. Here's what I do know. The Knicks have not had this much pressure on them to win in the last quarter century. Got to go back to the Ewing days since you can find the last time the Knicks had this much pressure on them entering a season. Where there's no Boston Celtics to take out. There's no Indiana Pacers to take out. The Knicks, top of the food chain. Better get it done. So baseball, basketball, NFL, everything happening. October is one of, if not the most exciting time on the sports calendar. So I'm excited for it. Ty Butler, that's X, that's Instagram, that's the YouTube channel. Hit me up, y'all. Deuces.